Hello, Tracy.
Hello.
So would you just be able to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, I'm Tracy and I work for McCartney Family Funerals and I'm the mortuary service manager here. So I'm a mortician and an embalmer.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into your role as a mortician?
Okay, so my background is I was a hairdresser and beautician for nearly 20 years in the UK. But I'd always had an interest in actually working with bodies, as in anatomy. I've always had a fascination with the human body and the anatomy and stuff like that. And I always had this thing of like, I would love to work in a mortuary. And I thought I could do like a scenes of crime thing. And I applied for the police in the UK, which is the SOCO team, which is scenes of crime investigation, because you don't have to be an actual police officer to do, the investigations around that. Anyway, long story short, I ended up coming to Australia. And that didn't happen. But in the process of coming to Australia, before I got to Australia, my mum was killed. And it was awful. It was terrible. She was killed. And basically, she was a mess. And the funeral director back in the UK refused our family to see her. And we weren't allowed to have a viewing. We weren't allowed to see her. We weren't allowed to actually witness that she had actually died. And that was the hardest thing to deal with, for somebody to say it to me and our family say, no, you cannot see your mum that was killed. And, you don't expect your mum to go out one day and not come back the next day and the way she did. So it was the trauma of that and not actually getting the fact that we were allowed to even touch a hand, cover our face, do any of that. So it inspired me to then start thinking, well, I wonder if I could help people in this area to make sure that didn't happen to them, because still to this day I live that trauma and I don't want people to live that trauma. It's awful. It's horrendous. So roll on a few years and I'm in Australia and I just applied for a funeral home one day and there was an open day and I got in and there you go. From there on I got in and became a mortician, and now I specialise in reconstruction, so I can give people that viewing that people say, no, you're not allowed, because nobody should ever say you're not allowed, because after all, it's your loved one, it's not ours, we're a caretaker, and nobody should refuse that. So that's how I got in it. Hey.
Have you ever had any strange experiences or spooky things happen while working as a mortician?
Oh, it's like people say, do you believe in ghosts and things like that? And I'm not sure I believe in ghosts or anything, but I do believe in this energy and presence, because I actually have had things happen. And it's not usually in the mortuary. The mortuary is usually a very calm, relaxed area. It's a really nice area. It's usually outside the mortuary doors where things happen. Like, for instance, people up the stairs, there's some stairways just outside the mortuary door that I've often thought I've caught a glimpse of somebody at the top of the stairs. There's nobody in. We had a doctor in who comes and checks the bodies for pacemakers and things. And the doctor said to me one day, he went, oh, who's the new star? I just walked up the stairs into the thing and there was only me and him in the room. There was nobody else in the building. I went, doctor, there's nobody there but me and you. And I went up and there was nobody in. So, and then I feel things around me. I feel like there's, I don't know, just presence and energy and stuff. Not negative, and it's not bad. I don't feel bad or negative energy. It always feels really, I don't know, calming. Yeah. So, yeah, I suppose I've had some kind of interactions with things. So, or maybe it's my imagination. Who knows?
Are you able to walk us through the embalming process and explain why it is done?
Okay, so embalming is what we call, it's a sanitization, preservation and presentation of the body. Okay, so we want to present the body in a sanitized, preserved way. So that means embalming is preserving. Okay, so embalming actually doesn't stop decomposition. All it does is slow it down. It slows the breakdown of our body, which is a natural process of us dying. We're all organic, so we break down like a bowl of fruit. Put a bowl of fruit in, you'll see it withering away and all of that. It's exactly what we do. But to slow that process down, embalming is what we do. It's a chemical process we need to do. And it's normally through the carotid artery is the normal way. There's You make an incision just where the carotid is, raise that artery up along with your jugular vein, and what we do is we put a cannula in, which is attached to a machine, which is an embalming tank, which is basically a pump, which we put embalming chemicals in, and that actually pumps. We connect it to the carotid artery, and it pumps fluid through the circulatory system, so right the way through your blood system. And we open the jugular vein next to it, but we open that and put a cannula down to open to let the blood out. Okay, so what we're doing is we're putting chemical in, which is a preservative chemical, and that's going through the whole system to push the blood out, to get rid of the blood, because blood decomposes really fast, and that's what makes the bad smell, and we need to replace that with the chemical, and that replaces that. And what it does, it goes through the whole system, it penetrates through all your arteries, your veins, your capillaries, to your tissues, to your cells, to everywhere. With massage, we'll massage the body while we're embalming. So we massage in the body to get all of the fluid through, and this will penetrate through all of the vessels and right into your tiny little capillaries, your cells, your skin, everything. And so we're preserving the body, and we're preserving the bodies because we may want to view in a few weeks, and we may want to put the body into an above-ground vault, which they have to be embalmed. And the embalming can last for different periods of time. So we can do a light embalm that lasts a couple of weeks, to embalms that's going to last for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. So the embalming process there's a lot more to it, but in a nutshell, that's basically what it is. We're just preserving that body for a short period of time.
Is there any truth to the stories about bodies moving or making sounds after death?
Right. No, bodies don't move as in they're gonna, when we're deceased or we're dead and we're lying, they don't start just going moving around like that. If you've ever read or heard anything about the body farm in Tennessee, where they put cadavers out and do a process of seeing how we decompose in different scenarios, they have said that if they put a body out and they go back weeks and months later, the arms have moved slightly. And that's just normal, basic, the body's shriveling and decomposing. So again, it's like a bowl of fruit. When you've got that big, nice, juicy orange and you leave it in the bowl for a while, and then it starts to decompose and basically rot away, it starts to wither and it'll move slightly, and that's just the normal process of it curling up. So that this is where people get the story from. Oh, the arms were there, then they were there. It's just a natural process. But actually in the mortuary, when we get people in that have just died and I'm washing and preparing them, they won't move as in the arms and the eyes won't move unless I move them. When I'm washing them, they'll move because I've been hitting the face by a dead body before, washing them, moving them like that, and they're going slap right across. I'm in full PPE, so that's okay. So I've got my face covered, but yeah, I've had a slap before. But they won't move. But sounds they do make. They do make sounds, and that's not because they're making a scary sound or they're still alive. They're certainly deceased and they're certainly dead. What it is our lungs have still got some air in it, and so when I start washing and dressing, I might press accidentally on there when I'm moving, and that air expels, and then it makes a noise as it expels because it's traveling through our voice box. So it like goes through there and comes out, and there could be a oh or a or a and when I cavity aspirate, I can also accidentally touch the voice box, and it makes a screamy noise. So it really can be quite confronting. There is a bit of a screamy noise. So no, not on their own. Dead bodies can't talk, can't speak, can't move, can't do anything, but the sound will come out naturally because of air still trapped in the body. So that'll dispel your myth, hopefully.
Have you ever had to deal with an unusual request?
Unusual requests. Now, what are unusual requests? We have lots of different families wanting their loved one to be buried or cremated with items or dressed in certain things. So I think the things that stand out is people that have dressed in like Star Trek outfits. I've even dressed people in like Viking outfits, and obviously put people in their uniforms that they have, you know, like army uniforms or any kind of uniforms. I prepped a gentleman a long time ago, and he was what they call a lay girl, which is basically a transvestite, so somebody that dresses as a woman and performs. So he wanted to go out in his full performance dress, his full makeup, and his wig that was nearly as big as the coffin. And this gentleman looked amazing. His family were blown away at the viewing because he looked just like he would when he was performing in his shows. And so it was his wish to go out that way. It's the way he loved to dress, and you know, it was him. And so stuff like that and things like that, and having like surfboards put in a coffin. I had that request once, but the surfboard's pretty large and it won't go into a casket, so we had to cut the surfboard in half and just put half of it in. You know, I've had people wearing clown masks, you know, which scared me because I'll tell you the story with a clown mask. As the family had a viewing, and the guy was just dressed in his normal T-shirt and jeans. I think I remember T-shirt, jeans. They had the viewing, and then after the viewing, I came back to take the deceased back to the cold room. And of course, we have them covered up as we transfer him from one room to another, so you can't see. Puts the gentleman in the cold room, takes the cover off, and I nearly died because there's an It clown mask on his face, It from Stephen King. Oh my God, Pennywise clown mask. And if there's one thing I'm afraid of in the whole wide world, it's clowns. Any clown. I even hate Ronald McDonald. I think he's the most scariest thing alive. So, yeah, clown mask. Yeah, it was awful. I don't know if the family were playing a joke on me or if the joke was for him. I don't know, but he had a clown mask on. So, yeah, that's an unusual one.
Are there any cases that have stayed with you emotionally?
Oh, yes. I've got quite a few cases, yeah. Yeah, I've got a few. I've got two that stay with me ever. I've got a young girl that died by suicide by a train who stays with me forever, and her injuries were beyond repair. There was just nothing left of that young, beautiful girl. I had her photographs. I got a life story from her mum, wrote me a letter and sent me all the photos from her birth to her death. And I found out a lot about that young girl, and it was tragic, and it was a while ago, and I still know the date of her death. I still know the date of her cremation, and I still know everything about that young girl. She stays with me forever, and yeah, she affected me a lot. And I've got two children that were killed in an accident that I had to reconstruct. So I had to rebuild the faces and rebuild them, and they stayed in my mortuary for nearly 3 months. They were embalmed because Mum was still in hospital and didn't get to see her children for 3 months. She was still very ill, so after the accident. So, yeah, we had to take care of them, two babies, for a long, long time, and that was awful for the family, and having to go in every day to, nurse these young children. It was pretty horrific. So, yeah, and I've got other cases that do stay with me, but them two are the main ones that are high there in the front of my head every day, all day. Yeah.
Have you ever had to prepare a body for a viewing after a really traumatic death? How do you approach that?
Oh yes, I've done many deceased people that have been killed by trauma. I have reattached many heads. People have been decapitated, reattached arms and legs. People that have just been smashed in car accidents, motorbike accidents, like smashed to pieces. And yeah, I've done many trauma cases. Trauma cases take a lot more work. They take a lot more than a normal basic prep, which is a wash dress and a face set, facial feature set, put in the coffin. Usually takes 40 minutes to an hour max. But anyway, for a reconstruction or anything with trauma, It can take anywhere from a full day to 3 or 4 weeks to actually rebuild and reconstruct the person. So yeah, many. And I approach it as in having been affected by trauma myself that way when my mum was killed, that I approach it that I know the trauma the family are actually going through at that point in time. So I know how important it is for me to switch on my work mode, go into work mode so I don't take that trauma with me and work through it, to know that if I can give that family the final goodbye, then I've done a good job to care for that person. So that's how I deal with it. I go into work mode, I switch off, and it's automatic. And it's not that I'm not caring for this person. It's still done with care, respect, and dignity. It's just you have to switch off that emotion. Because if you don't switch your emotion off, you would never be able to cope in dealing with the death that you see on a daily basis, especially trauma cases. So that's how I approach trauma cases, yeah.
What would you say to anyone out there that wants to be a mortician? What sort of a person do you have to be, and what do you have to be prepared for?
Well, you have to be prepared for, obviously, if you're going to work in the funeral industry and you're going to work as you want to be a mortician or embalmer, you've got to understand you're going to be dealing with dead bodies every single day. And you're going to be dealing with smell. You're going to be dealing with trauma. You're going to be dealing with grieving families. You're going to be working very hard. It's a physical hard job. And as in moving and washing and dressing, it's mentally hard. You know, it is. And it's also the funeral industry, and being a mortician is quite demanding. It's not a job where you clock in at 9 o'clock and you clock off at 5 o'clock. You can't just do that, because your day isn't just like an office job where you put and file something until tomorrow. If you're working on a case that's going to take you a long time, you've got to still work through that case. So, you know, you've got to be prepared for long hours. It's 24/7, the funeral industry, so you've got to understand that it doesn't close, and work, you know, you've got to do rotated on-call rosters and all of that. But you've got to have empathy. You've got to be, you've got to be a bit wacky as well, I think. To be truthful, you have to, but not in a weird kind of way. It's just you've got to have it's a dark sense of humour, but we're not laughing at death, and we don't laugh at death, and we don't disrespect anything about death. That's not what it's about. You have to control them emotions, and you have to be a person that can actually you put things in boxes, in, you know, you've got to get rid of some of these boxes so you can actually function, and you've got to have support. And you've got to make sure that you have the mental capacity that you know that you could go and deal with all of this trauma. But in the end of the day, it's not all trauma, and it's not all like, you know, motorbike accidents and car accidents and work accidents. It's, you know, old people passing away peacefully in the nursing homes or at home. So it's, you know, most days it's, you know, it's about caring for everybody every day. And yes, you get them trauma cases, but in the end, it's a job of respect, care, and dignity. And you really need to have them core values with you when you work in a mortuary. You have to, you know, there's no doubt about it. If you're caring for a stranger's loved one, respect them like it's your loved one. Always look after that person like it's your loved one. And then you'll be fine working in a mortuary. So, yeah. So you're either going to love that kind of work or not. But it is hard work. But it's very rewarding. It's really rewarding. Well, I find it very rewarding. So, yeah.